new efforts in your child abuse prevention planning efforts. So we welcome you and thank you so much for giving us 2 hours of your time this morning. So let's go ahead and get started in learning what we're going to be doing this morning. So slide 2, if we can move to next slide. We are going to today, well, once again, we are welcoming you, but we are going to be, before we get into the topic of today's session, we are going to explore potential topics that you are interested in having in the next 2022, and then hopefully we can also obtain information for the early part of 2023. Just if you know, if you've been with us, Barbara and I, we are planners. We like to prepare, but we definitely provide and create these learning exchange cohorts based on the topics that you are interested. In rural counties, we know we are limited in resources, so we really want to hear from you. We also today will have panel experts. That means that if you have been with us in the prior learning exchange, which was in October, you recall that we had our how to partner with our tribal partners session as well. But we had so many questions and we felt that there was still more need to go in depth with some of the best practices, that today we brought this part 2 to help us listen and hear a little bit more about best practices that are being provided by other rural counties. So we are bringing our Office of Tribal Affairs experts or facilitators this morning to help us facilitate a panel and I'm just so grateful to multiple counties that are willing to share what they're currently doing to build their tribal partnerships in their community. And once we complete the panel expert, we will provide you opportunities to do Q&A, so prepare your questions. Also, just so you know, when you registered, we asked you what are some specific challenges or successes that you have in your county in regards to building tribal partnerships, and you provided that to us. We have gathered that list, and we are also going to be reading some of those questions. But if we don't get to that question you specifically have, please let us know through our Q&A section. And then we're going to go ahead and close our session and once again ask you for your time to provide us an evaluation. We want to make sure that we're meeting your needs. Okay, next slide. Strategies, technical assistance. We are a team that is funded by the Office of Child Abuse Prevention. We are funded specifically to help counties in the state of California build and develop a prevention plan around their child abuse prevention efforts. Our focus is to provide a multiple array of support services. So if your county currently is in process or it needs some additional support, please let us know. If we are working with your county, welcome. Thank you for being here. This learning exchange is to supplement some of the efforts that you currently are working on. So thank you. Next
and
slide.
if this is your first learning exchange, Bryn is going to put in the chat some information about what is a learning exchange, as well as some more information about Strategies TA. We have a couple of PDFs. I sent them out earlier, but they're really helpful to orient you. For those of you that have been here before, you know what we do here. So thank you.
So welcome.
Next slide. So today, as Lucy said, we're going to focus on a part 2. Part 1 in October, we looked at, we had great information from the Office of Tribal Affairs, which I sent out prior to this learning exchange, links to October's recording, as well as all of the materials. So please, if you missed part 1, make sure you take a look at that. It will really help you in terms of what we're going to be talking about today. But today, part 2, we're going to get some concrete strategies to engage with tribes and both leadership and in the communities. And we have a great panel ready for you today. Okay, next slide. And just want to meet your rural exchange cohort team. We are all from Strategies. Next slide. So I'm Barb DeGraff. I'm the TA consultant working in the Sierra region primarily. Many of you know me and work with me. And we'd like to do a land acknowledgement today as well for ourselves and for you of our tribal land. I come to you from the Washoe lands here in beautiful, beautiful El Dorado County, and it is snowing. We have about probably 12 inches of snow on my driveway right now.
Thank you. And my name is Lucy Hernandez, and I'm also part of the Strategies Technical Assistance team. I'm a technical assistance consultant and trainer, and I come to you from the land of Namalaki, and I am primarily focusing in the areas of Northern California from Sacramento up. And I live in Glynn County, which is beautiful today. Sunny is just a perfect day today. So I'm coming to you from beautiful land of Namalaki.
And hello, my name's Bryn Pascal, and I am the data support specialist for Strategies TA, and I am here for all of your behind the scenes tech needs and any additional questions you have about resources or just needs throughout the presentations today. And I am coming to you from Nisenan land in Sacramento County, California.
Next slide.
Great. So let's go ahead and now find out who is here with us this morning. So if you don't mind writing your name, your agency in the chat box, and also what land you're coming from this morning, we'd really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and take a minute to have you type in your name, your agency, and the land you are coming from. And we have also put the link on the chat box in case you're not sure what land you're in, what land tribal territory. We have placed the chat in the chat. We've placed the link, so feel free to go ahead and explore. And this is okay. One of the things I'll say is part of understanding our tribal partners is to also understand the land and acknowledge, the history and culture. And so part of us learning is allowing us to have that, sensitivity to also, connect culturally. And so if it's your first time and you're not sure, it's okay. This is part of what we're doing today is we're learning together and we're providing the respect to our tribal partners.
All right.
We have, wow, okay, great. So we
Gonna...
have several entries. So I'm just reading them off here. Thank you. Wow, got a lot of representation from Sierra and Tuolumne, Bishop, right. Sierra, Miwok Land. Thank you. Okay, great. And if you still have to complete it, you're still looking, that's fine. Go ahead. We're going to go ahead and move forward, but welcome to each of you that have joined us so far. Thank you for being here with us. And our goal is to provide you these resources and information to support your county work.
And I also added in the chat the link to the map. It's a great map. Right. Next slide. So real quickly, our outcomes for today, we really hope you'll be able to actively engage with us. We want you to meet your peers, folks you can learn from, and perhaps establish some relationships, make connections. Today, we really want to prioritize some topics for our next 3 learning exchanges. We can continue with our tribal exploration, but we also have some other ideas from you that we'd like to hopefully prioritize, and then leave today with concrete strategies to successfully engage tribal members in your community, both leaders, community members, etc., into your local child abuse prevention planning activities. So there's going to be an evaluation link at the end. Let us know how we've done. That really helps us prepare a better event for you next time. Next slide.
So we wanted to provide you a map of our next 3 learning exchange cohorts for our rural counties. And you'll see if you have an opportunity to save these dates in your calendar. We currently are working, as Barbara said, we are going to be collecting today your interest, the topics that you're interested in seeing or hearing about. But if you could please just maybe take a picture of this or write these dates down. We have also sent out the PowerPoint so you have that. But saving these dates will allow you to, be able to join us in the next 3 cohort sessions. And all meetings will always be from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. So we look forward to having your participation and also for you to share with your colleagues or partners in your counties or communities. So we're going to go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, we'll send all those dates out to you when we, all the information today will be shared with you in an email after the meeting. So we'll make sure to put those dates in there for you.
So now let's go ahead and get your input. It's really important that we ask you, what are some of the topics that you feel are important? So here in front of you, I'll go ahead and have Barbara explain what you are seeing on the screen.
So at our meeting in October, we took some time and we did a Mentimeter and we asked you for ideas for topics for our next two, that would have been February and May. Now we're looking ahead, May and beyond, to the next 3 learning exchanges. So what we've done is I've taken these topics and tried to consolidate them. So I am going to share my screen. And I am going to, hopefully you can see this Mentimeter. Hopefully everybody can see that. And what we'd like you to do is I consolidated the topics that you gave us from October into 8 different topics. And we'd love for you to go to the www.menti.com, use the code 47870791 and rank from highest to lowest, number 1 being your top ranking idea, with the area that you're the most interested in. And then so from top 1st to 8th, if you just take a few minutes, we'll take 2 minutes to rank the topics. Take some time, look at them. We have FRC development and funding, youth engagement, engaging partnerships and prevention planning, integrated prevention, domestic violence impacts on children and families, evidence-based programs, more tribal discussion, and Child Abuse Prevention Month. And CAP month, obviously, we wouldn't do in May, necessarily. We'd do that maybe, in August. So these are the ideas that you gave us. If you would just take some time and rank them, and then if you have any other ideas, you can put them in the chat. You can put them in the evaluation. If you have any other ideas, we really want to meet your needs. Oh, look, we're voting. Yay. You guys are good. Okay, youth engagement so far is looking really domestic violence, integrated prevention, engaging partnerships. Good, great. More tribal discussions. Yeah, we really can have a series, so excellent, excellent. All right. Looks like folks are still, we so far have 15 people voting. There's more of you on, so if you need some more time, 17 we're up to, nice.
The code is on the screen at the top. It is the 47870791. I will go ahead and put it in the, oh, somebody beat me to it. Thank you. Thank you, Deanna.
Always a good group. Let's see if anybody's.
And if you have not used Mentimeter, it's a great tool for you to utilize with your county partners or in your organizations to gather feedback or input. So hopefully, if it's your first time, hopefully you learn to use this tool.
Engaging partnerships. Okay, that's great. Integrated prevention, youth engagement, violence. Great.
And once again, if there is a topic that you're interested that is not on our list, please put it in the chat box. We really want to hear from you.
Right. Or you have even ideas for some specific, the integrated prevention, I kind of just pulled. So I'm not 100% sure what that would look like. So if folks are interested in that, let me know what you're specifically interested in. And then last but not least, I'll just say that if you have any ideas of people you would like to hear from, that's something we can try to arrange for you, because we do have funding for some additional folks to bring in. So if you have ideas of somebody you've heard and you think this would be a great presenter, let us know. Put it in the chat, put it in the evaluation, or just email, Lucy or myself. But we're happy. We love all of that feedback.
And just so you know, we, even though we may not be working with your county, we are funded to support the state of California counties on your child abuse prevention work. So this, if this is all you work with us through these cohorts, we are providing technical assistance. This is part of our role to support you in the work you're doing. And once again, if you are interested in strategies supporting you through this grant funded opportunity from OCAP, please let us know, reach out to us, and we can definitely work with your county.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I gotta get out of here. Here we go. And Bryn, if you want to pull back up, and folks can still, the Mentimeter is open, you can still vote. So feel free again to add to the chat. So let's get started with our program for today. So just a real quick recap for you. Again, last October, when you registered, you shared with us many of your successes and challenges. And from those successes is where we actually were able to bring in the presenters we're going to be introducing shortly. And then these are some of the challenges that you shared. We'll go to the next slide if you don't mind. And then from our registration for February for this learning exchange, you gave us again some of the issues and questions which we shared with our facilitators from OTA as well as with our presenters, so that they're aware of what it is that you are really struggling with and where you have some questions. So we're going to hopefully touch on some of these in our presentations. Next slide. And then Lucy, I think you're going to introduce our OTA folks.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we are very pleased, and once again, thank you so much to our Office of Tribal Affairs team for helping us facilitate today's session. We figured, Barbara and I, that we are not the experts. What we have done is brought in the team that can help facilitate these conversations and supplement additional information. The Office of Tribal Affairs is a new entity that has a new department that has been established by the state of California, and they are now a department under the California Department of Social Services. And the team has been phenomenal in providing one-on-one support, group support. So if you are interested, please, these are the contacts you want to have and to reach out. But today you get to meet with them, face to face, or virtual to virtual face. So our field liaisons for the northern region is Jessica Canes. For our central region is Layla DeRone, and for the southern part of the state is Donald Rodriguez. Today we actually have both Jessica, Layla, and Donald. Thank you so much for supporting our team in helping us understand what multiple counties in our state are currently doing. And also today we have Jennifer Parsons, who is our EQA Tribal Services Specialist. And Jennifer actually was the presenter for our last rural exchange. So you are familiar with her if you are attending for part 2. And the team of the 4 OTA team members are here to help supplement information in regards to the questions that you were asking, but also to facilitate the conversation, because today we have multiple counties that are going to be presenting their current work, local work in building tribal partnerships. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it on to our next slide. Today we will have our presenters will be Calaveras County. We will have, under the Calaveras County, we have a team. Our team is created by Corey Allen, who is the Director of Health and Human Services in Calaveras County. Under the Calaveras County team, we also have Margie Wiley. She's a licensed substance abuse counselor / navigator from the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indian Social Services. I hope I said that right, sorry. And Wua Zion is a supervisor for Tuolumne County Health and Human Services. So we will have them to start our presentation today.
No, actually, I'm sorry, Lucy, Amador is going to start. It's Amador, Alpine, then Calaveras.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So they will be one of our presenters for today's morning. Then in the Amador County team, we have Johnny Drake. She's the site manager for the California Tribal TANF Partnership, which I'm really excited to hear more about their work. And then Stephanie Hess, who is the MHSA Programs Coordinator with Amador County Behavioral Health Services. With our Alpine team, we have Nicole Williamson with the Alpine County. She's an administrative officer for the Health and Human Services, and she's also the director. And Suzanne M. Garcia, she's Tribal Legal and Child Welfare Specialist with the Tribal Law and Policy Institute, which is actually a new group for me. So I'm really excited to hear about their work as well. So these are our peers that are willing to share their work at the local level and also have brought on board some additional partners that they work with. And this is really exciting because it allows us to learn how these partnerships are providing services for our residents in our community. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next screen to get our presentation started.
All right, and before we get started, Joni and Stephanie, would you like to share your own slides, or I have them up and ready?
They're all, I think we're going to share, right? Yeah.
Awesome, great.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having us. And I know Stephanie and I are excited. We're nervous. We're all of the above. And I'd like to first start out, if I may, first of all, doing an acknowledgement. We do what we call a daily meditation. And if I could have that permission, I'd like to be able to share that today, especially February 22nd, 2/2/22. Let's do this. So in the Indian way, we are connected to the flower. If we understand its spirit, the essence of it is life. Larry Atkins, Chippewa. Everything on earth is alive. Every rock, every plant, every animal, every tree, every bird, every thought is alive. And this is true because everything is made by the Great Spirit, and the Great Spirit is alive. We need to slow our lives down each day and to realize consistently that this is true. First, we need to realize it. Second, we need to acknowledge it. Third, we need to appreciate it. And finally, we need to go on. So today, Great Spirit, let me see life through your eyes. Today, let me be alive. Just taking a few moments to kind of reflect on that is a day that I want to say thank you for inviting us to be on this panel. And I'd like to just go ahead and do an introduction of myself. My traditional name is Wotri Choi Tush, which is Choi Nemni, given to me by my dad. I hold dual citizenship. I am a North Fork Rancheria tribal member. And a non-federal tribal person of the Choi Nemni tribe that is in Southern California. The land that I am blessed to serve our families on is our Miwok tribe. Today, Creator blessed us with a dusting of snow. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the water that it's bringing. And I'd like to introduce my partner, Stephanie Hess.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hess, and I'm the Mental Health Services Act Programs Coordinator for Amador County Behavioral Health. And I am really grateful for the opportunity for us to be here today. And Joni, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction to our presentation. That was just really nice grounding for me anyways. So I think we're ready to get started. If we want to. So we wanted to just provide you with a little snapshot of Amador County, really to lay it out for you guys on how small we really are and what large presence our Native community is. We're a small rural county, 595 square miles, and we range in elevation from 200 to over 9,000 feet. So we go from the basically kind of the Desert Valley all the way up into like the Kirkwood Mountains bordering Alpine County, or the Sierra Nevadas, sorry. Our population is about 35,850 people. That is excluding our state prison. If we include the prison numbers, we are closer to 40,000. But we exclude them because they, you know, they're not part of our general population. And within our small little 600 square mile range, we have 3 federally recognized tribes: the Ione Band of Miwok Indians, the Buena Vista Band of Miwok Indians, the Jackson Rancheria Band of Miwok Indians, and then there are several unrecognized tribal community members as well living in Amador County. 2 of our 3 federally recognized tribes own and operate rather large casinos in our county. Jackson Rancheria here in Jackson, and then the Buena Vista Harrah's Casino out in Comanche, or the Buena Vista area. So we just really wanted to paint that picture so you could really see how small we are, but how large our Native population is, and how it really is, it's highly represented in all that we do. So next slide, please. This slide was just a little graph we made because it kind of highlights where we started and what our purpose really was. It's a quick visual of how things really manifested here in Amador when it came to tribal TANF engaging with community partners and organizations to bring the voices of the native and needs of natives to the forefront in our community. A little bit of how this started was the communication part. We weren't communicating at all with our Native partners, at least as a public system here in the behavioral health system. Right next door is social services, and right across the hall is public health. And we weren't engaging in a cohesive way with our tribal partners at all. We had no real access to our tribes. And then we weren't really working closely with Joni and her team across town either. So what we did was, we were kind of here at behavioral health, our substance use services disorder program manager. We went through an audit and they asked what we did to engage with tribes, and we couldn't answer that question. We were actually like, what? We have 3 federally, they were educating us, and it was really a humbling and embarrassing moment, to be honest. I'm hopeful that we aren't the only ones that were ever in that situation, but that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And we really sat down and we were thinking, this really shouldn't be check the box stuff. This needs to be meaningful conversation. I mean, if we have 3 federally recognized tribes, all these unrecognized tribal community members, I mean, we're not reaching these folks. And why? Why can't we? And so we invited Joni and her team to come and present at a staff meeting, but we asked them to come a little bit early to meet with us so we could ask them if we could engage with them more, because we need to learn more, because we aren't doing our part. And they were really excited for the opportunity. We were really nervous to go into that meeting, being as humble and vulnerable as we were. And Joni was just arms wide open. Yes, let's start these conversations. Let's start talking. So we made an agreement to meet like bi-monthly, just internally, the 2 agencies, to learn more about how we can support each other. And that started really building our relationships with one another, and our community partners. And we started building trust because we started realizing that, okay, we can call you if we have a mutual person that maybe isn't comfortable coming here to our office at the Health and Human Services building, but you have them there. How can we just go there and reach them there where people are comfortable? It really created opportunity to share with each other about what we're doing and how, and it helped, again, create the trust. We were building the trust, and then the trust had been created, at least between our 2 entities. And why is this important, right? Joni always shares this video, I think annually or every few years with us, and it's about ICWA. And I know that it was sent out in the materials beforehand, but it is such a stark reminder of where we've been in this work and where we don't want to go back to, and how we need to keep moving forward by engaging with each other and by talking with each other, because the whole goal here is to make a positive impact for the people we serve. And the ICWA video is important. And I love that Joni calls it a good reminder, because it's a reminder that trust is a huge barrier. And when it comes to accessing services and supports, even in seeking help, if we don't have the trust of the people we're serving, we're not going to be able to help them. And we have to get creative in what that looks like. We have to remove barriers, and we're not going to be able to do that unless we're talking to each other. So it really did start with that communication.
Stephanie, I'm going to ask if we could delay the video, see how much time we have, because it is 12
yeah.
minutes. And I did send it out to everyone. If we have time, we can, but if that's okay. Thank you.
Oh, that's absolutely okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. And then if we move on to the next slide, we go back to our communication, right? And developing relationships. And so when we started seeking Joni and Tribal TANF out, we realized that, you know, there was a lot more to this work than just behavioral health. I mean, we all intersected with each other. The Department of Social Services, including Child Protective Services, our Welfare to Work division, our public health department needed to be involved because they had a lot of that children and family safety initiatives going on. We needed to be involved because we're really the only place in the county where people can get services when it comes to psychiatry and mental health counseling and substance use services. And so we really needed to be developing relationships with each other, including nonprofits, not just county agencies like our First Five. We have some other nonprofits like Operation Care, which does our domestic violence, and our Nexus Youth and Family Services programs. And we just started talking to each other more. And as we were talking to each other more, we realized there's a lot going on and we are not all on the same page. So even though we have direct access to Joni here at Behavioral Health, that doesn't mean CPS does, or that public health does, or that, you know, First Five does. We needed to really kind of figure some other way out to talk to each other and to know what is available to our Native people in this community. And how to get access to those services and get access to that support. And as we kept going on, we did realize we needed more. And then Joni was kind of the brainchild between a collaboration. We called it a Native Roundtable. And it was where she invited all these people and we got together in one room and we talked. And that has really been the game changer in the work we've done. So as we go on to the next slide, I'll let Joni take it from there.
Thank you, Stephanie. So we looked at the roundtable as exactly that, as being round and for us all to have a voice at the table. And that was the beginning. It gave us the opportunity to open up a dialogue as to what's available in our region, what services were needed, and how can we, as agencies, as individuals, how can we help? And so behavioral health wanted to learn more about how to better serve our Native population and approach Tribal TANF and engaging our partners. So we gave that an open opportunity for discussion at the table. And then as Tribal TANF, we had an opportunity to develop a networking system. So we were able to invite the local county, community, and other Native partners to this Tribal TANF roundtable for the discussion. And then each of our attendees were allowed that opportunity to discuss their program and their special niche that they provide, so that this service gets out into the Native population and into the community as a whole. And our attendees didn't just come from the local community, they were regional, state, and also national programs. We have an opportunity to where we, in our small agency, to really network. And so our web of influence is pretty widespread. Our success continued by bi-monthly or up into quarterly until COVID, dun, dun, dun. But then discussion of a roundtable is still one that we're looking at, is to bringing it back, since the end of the pandemic hopefully is in near sight. And we encourage an environment that supports education growth, and we want to be able to live and walk and talk our agencies for purposes so that we're able to meet those needs and to collaborate with all of the other agencies and entities and representatives, so that this way, as Stephanie and I talk a lot about being able to provide a warm handoff and to be able to tell this person who they're going to be meeting with, and to be able to know that we've engaged dialogue, we have a relationship with this person, rather than just picking up a business card and saying, here you go, this is your referral. And so that's where the roundtable, it really solidified those relationships. And if we want to go to the next slide, this is just kind of a capsule of who was at the table. We had a lot of our local agencies. I think we forgot to put some the Amador Probation Department. I know they were there. We had CHP. I mean, we had an opportunity, because this all came out of the need to serve, and the need to serve in a good way. And I say that in a good way, meaning that we are looking at that person as a whole person, and to look at them. The word that I use a lot of times is to look at something that is bone deep, because we know trauma has happened, and that is a core. And so being able to come to the round table with all of these agencies and all of their services and their expertise, we have a lot to be able to provide to those families that have been injured and hurt, and are healing and finding a path of being sustained in our community. And so having the representatives at that table was enlightening for not just I think for Stephanie and I, but I think for all of us at that table, to be able to see and to have that aha moment of, oh, I had no idea that that's what you did, or I didn't realize that that was one of the services that you provided. And so that dialogue gave us the opportunity to open up additional doors and realize that those cabinets that we have are really full of a lot of supplies and a lot of stock. So next slide, if you please. An opportunity to share. This is our niche in the community, because a lot of times people will ask, well, why Tribal TANF when we have Amador Human Services here in the county? Because of who we are and what we want to provide and support is the reason for our calling as a tribal entity. We want to give the opportunity to share, of course, our services, but we're also asking the opportunity from the tribes that these families come to that are seeking services. They're giving us the opportunity to be their surrogate of their tribe, and that's a great honor. It's an opportunity for us to be able to provide services not only to the Miwok families that we have that reside in this area, but we have Chickasaw, Choctaw, Cherokee, we have Chumash. We have a lot of different tribal members that have relocated that are here in our area. And so we are basically their surrogate tribe. And so to be able to offer those and to know that their tribe is giving us that honor has been a great honor for me these past, let's see, I just served, I'm just now celebrating my 15th year of providing families tribal services. And so being able to give them the various services that we have here at Tribal TANF, supporting the adults in their continued education, vocational training. And we've got several that have masters, and it's like, you know, they're utilized their TANF months in a very wise way. And you know, I'm just always in awe and in great admiration of that. Cultural awareness. Sometimes our families, they just know that they're a registered tribal member, and they don't, they've lost that connection to their roots. And so we help and we encourage them to explore and to develop those cultural items, and to be able to also re-engage with their tribes. Pre-COVID, we had workshops that we offered here in the office. We had skilled facilitators that brought those skills in, that shared that knowledge, and all that time of being able to have a safe, kind of like a safe round talking circle, because there was always conversation being engaged during those workshops, and learning and asking questions and having that safe space. And so many times those workshops were more than just a quote crafting time. It was an engagement of cultural time. And of course, we're in that trauma-informed care practices and all of our services. And that's why it's very, very important that we have that a trust, and we have that opportunity to do those warm referrals so that our families can trust us. Our families will know that they can trust the person that we're referring to. Next slide, if you please.
All right, so we want to talk a little bit about cultural brokers and how we use them here in Amador County. For Amador County Behavioral Health, we're eager to engage with different communities, because we know that we can't serve everybody, the way that they need to be served. There are considerations when it comes to culture, when it comes to other unique things that we're not the experts at, and we need those brokers in the community, those contacts, those champions to really help us do our job well. And so when we identify champions in different populations, it has been really, really helpful in building trust and in serving those folks. By having a cultural broker through using Tribal TANF, we're able to access the tribes. We're able to access supports that we wouldn't otherwise know about, that they're able to help folks with. When we have someone come in here and they don't want the traditional medicine, and they want to use the traditional healing method, and we don't know what that is, or how to implement that, we refer back over to Tribal TANF, because we trust and know that they have people in their network that will get folks what they need. And it really does promote wellness through that awareness, and serving people through that lens, and having people we trust to give those folks over to is huge. I think Joni and I talk a lot, and in our conversations, we kind of look at it as everyone is a gatekeeper, right? And we need, the people we serve need people that they can trust, especially when it comes to our Native communities. No more broken referrals, or broken, just here's a card, here's a handoff, but really walking people through the process. Like, okay, this is who we're going to send you over to. They're really good at what they do. You probably already know them, or you might not. And, they'll take it from here with our support, of course, and because we can communicate clearly, we can get on the phone, we can drive over to their office, we can get on a Zoom real quick and talk. It promotes that collaboration. And because we have the trust and that increased confidence in how our services are provided, it really just adds to the network for how we help people. And I think that is just really incredible that we were able to tap into Tribal TANF as that, no one would ever think that would be the resource to tap into, but it really is. It's been instrumental in the work we do. Next slide, please. So as we talk about lessons learned, this work hasn't been easy. It's taken a lot of time. It's taken years. And we're constantly growing in that work and improving in that work. And we still make mistakes, and we still don't do things right. But that's because we're human. And we're in the field we're in. And so what happens is we just have to understand the stigma associated with social services from historical trauma. I think that's where we really have to start, is being trauma informed. I'm kind of skipping around all over this slide, but it really all kind of goes in together, is we really need to be trauma informed and trauma aware of where people are coming from when they walk through our doors. and supporting them. Sometimes they might not even make it through our doors here at Behavioral Health, but they're over at Tribal TANF, and we'll support them that way. Wellness comes in many different forms, and it's a unique situation for everybody. And we really have to understand that there's stigma, there's trust issues, there's challenges, and that might not be that individual's fault, but it's just with what they're coming through their generational trauma. You have to serve people where they're at. We can't expect everybody as a system coming from a public system of care to just walk through our doors. We just can't. Because of the lessons we've learned with Tribal TANF and being able to be mobile and go there and do substance use assessments, or go there and provide mobile support, go there and meet people, go there and provide workshops. It really has expanded in other things we do, like when we're outreaching to homeless populations and our Spanish speaking populations. We really use this model to serve other folks because it's worked, and you have to serve people where they're at. We have to be honest about what we can and can't do. I think that we want, as good service providers, we want to give people the world, but we can't. I can only offer you what behavioral health can offer you. We have mandates, we have contracts with the state. There's only a certain, type of population we can provide. So I can't promise you that we can serve you the way we serve the people that we're mandated to serve. But what I can promise you is that we will connect you with the people who can help you so you can get what you need. And I know that's the same thing that they do over at TANF as well. But you have to be honest in that, and you have to, find your humility in that and be vulnerable when you have to explain that. Again, this work takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It took years in the making. It was years in the making, even approaching someone like Joni or Tribal TANF to start engaging in this work. It was a really slow go for us, but we are so small here that we don't have a choice. We really have to work together if we are going to help people and help them well. Joni, do you have anything to add on this one?
I think I think what I'd like to add on that is just what kind of spurred out from the opportunity to have this dialogue is it gave me the I guess bravery to put my hand up and to volunteer to sit on. I'm a board member, commissioner for First Five here in Amador. I'm a board member for our local ATCA, the Action Agency, and the Child Care Council. So that our number one, that our Native voices there, our low income family voices there. Not that I have all of the, I don't have all of the answers, but I do want to have a voice at the table and to at least put my hand up if I have a question or a concern. So, but I wanted to say thank you to Stephanie for the partnership that we've have and engage in, and we have a safe place at the table to give each other suggestions, to just reach out and say, hey, I've got a real quick question. I don't understand this. And so I want to say thank you for that safe place. So thank you, Stephanie, and all of those over at the Amador County building. We're appreciative of y'all. So Barbara, thank you.
Yes, I was going to say thank you guys so much. The next slide has your contact information. And unfortunately, time is our nemesis. You guys have such wonderful information, but we do need to move on to our next presenter. So we have time for Alpine and Calaveras counties. But thank you guys so much. Beautiful work. So now we're going to hear from Nicole Williamson and Suzanne Garcia from Alpine County. And I just want to emphasize again, please feel free to chat any question you might have. And we will have time at the end for a facilitated discussion with OTA. So if we could please have Suzanne and Nicole pinned. And they can start.
Alpine. Thank you so much, Alpine, for doing this.
Yes, thank you. Beautiful.
Are we ready?
I see Suzanne. I just need Nicole.
I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Yay. Okay, go. You're on. Thank you.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. I'm Nicole Williamson. I am the Health and Human Services Director in Alpine County. I've been in this position for 10 years now, and looking at this timeline that Suzanne has in here, Suzanne and I have been working on this for 10 years now. Our partnership that we've been working on with the Washoe tribe. And I'm also the County Administrative Officer, and I'll turn it over to Suzanne to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I am Suzanne Garcia. I work for the Tribal Land Policy Institute as a tribal legal and child welfare specialist. So I guess a little bit of context on, so the Tribal Land Policy Institute is a technical assistance provider, usually to tribes. We support their sovereignty, we support their self-determination, we support it's a native-owned nonprofit, and it works to support tribes in issues where they want to ensure the wellness and safety of their people. So that's my current job. I've done that since about 2015, but before this, I was in-house counsel for the Washoe tribe. And that's where Nicole and I started working together. And that's why the Washoe tribe seal is not on this first slide, is because I can't speak for the Washoe tribe because I don't work with them anymore, or I don't work for them anymore. I should say I do work with them. And that's one of the things I think that's helped this partnership so much. I did have a really good conversation with the chairman from the Hung LLT community yesterday. So he has our full support in doing this presentation.
He is also one of our Board of Supervisors and the chairman of the Hung LLT community of the Washoe tribe.
So today we're just gonna give some background and context about the relationship further than what we've just talked about. And we're gonna talk about a memorandum of understanding that the tribe and Alpine County entered into in 2014, and some of the individual projects that have come about as a result of that MOU. And we're also going to talk about practices that Alpine County has used to develop the relationship with Washoe. Next slide, please. So this is a timeline of the history. And I think it's really important for people to learn the history of the tribes that they're working with, so you get a bit of the context of how things happened. And I also like to show this history because for those of you who do not have good relationships with the tribes within your county, I think this gives a little hope, because the relationship between the tribe and the county for a very long time was very difficult. As in a lot of places in California, there was a concerted effort to destroy the tribes and destroy the people. There was a lot of times there was non-natives and the tribal members themselves who were asking for land to be put aside for the tribe and for the tribal members. And the locals were telling them, we're telling the Washington, D.C., don't bother. They're not going to be around very much longer. That was not the case. They were resilient. And so in 1917, the first colonies on the Nevada side were established, and that's what they called them in Nevada. They call them colonies. Nicole,
I would add, one of the things I always point out when I talk about this is that the Washoe people didn't see any of the white explorers until 1844, when John Fremont came through here. And then you can look at the map and see where their land was since 1850. In less than a generation, their lives completely changed from, having their historical territory area from Honey Lake all the way down almost to the Bridgeport area, northern Mono County. And in less than a generation, that was destroyed and gone. So yeah, that's really important to know, that they didn't have a lot of interactions with settlers. And then once they did, their whole way of life was pretty much destroyed.
Next slide. There we go. So the tribe, put its constitution together in 1936, but it wasn't until 1970 that their land on the California side was recognized, right? So their interaction with Alpine County in California, which is a public law 280 state, didn't start until 1970, and they were used to being on the Nevada side, which is not a public law 280 state. So they had exclusive jurisdiction and exclusive sovereignty over their lands, whereas on the California side, they didn't. But I think that's how the tribe approached it. This is our land. We're sovereigns here. This is what we do. And I think Alpine County and the state of California weren't quite sure what to make of that. The Washoe tribe has always been asserted their sovereignty strongly. In 1996, relations were so bad that the tribe resumed exclusive jurisdiction over child custody proceedings under the Indian Child Welfare Act, because the working relationship was just that bad. Nicole, did you want to add anything to that part of it, or?
I will just add and echo what Suzanne said. The relationship between the Washoe tribe and the county was not a good one. And I always say, if we can work through our issues and be on the other side where, and I say this as the CAO, our most important government to government relationship to Alpine County is our relationship with the Washoe tribe. And that if you can come from where we were in the 90s and early 2000s and even mid 2000s to where we are today, I think any county and tribe can do it, because it was, I'll use the word, it was a hostile relationship. It wasn't just bad, it was hostile.
In 2007, I was working for the tribe, and we wanted to collaborate. We were trying to implement the Adam Walsh Act and a few other things where we needed to collaborate with the states, with the counties. So I was doing a lot of negotiations, both on the California side and on the Nevada side. And one of the things we were talking about was, how can we make services flow more effectively, better, to serve the families on the California side. And I kept on hearing about this court case. Oh, we can't do it. There's this court case. We don't have jurisdiction. We can't provide services. We can't provide services. And I'm a lawyer, so I'm looking for this court case. I can't find this court case, right? There's nowhere to be seen. And one of the things that Nicole did that really made me trust her was I get this phone call one day, right? And she's like, found it, because she was also looking for this court case, right? She says, it's not a court case. It's not a court decision. It's a memo. The judge at the time, back in 1996, when the tribe resumed exclusive jurisdiction over child custody proceedings, wrote this memo saying that the service providers on the Alpine County side didn't have any authority to provide services, especially when the kids were in the middle of a child dependency proceeding. And that just made our trust just go way up, because she admitted where the county had been wrong. It really made things go a long way. In 2012, Nicole went from being, what were you,
I was the financial person to the director. Yeah. Yep.
So she got a promotion in 2012, and that's when the negotiations really started getting traction and really started making changes. And we knew what we wanted. Nicole and I have talked about this a bunch of times. We knew what we wanted. And in 2 years, we had that MOU signed. In 2018, I had been doing a lot of work with tribes about the commercial sexual exploitation of children. And she and I were talking about what was going on with the county, and they needed to develop their response to this issue. And she knew she wanted to do it with the tribe. So, and this is another thing that Nicole has always done. When we did the MOU, I had a full plate, she had a full plate. Neither of us had the time to really put pen to paper. We knew what we wanted. but we didn't have time to put pen to paper. So she went outside the county and hired someone. But she hired someone that I knew and trusted to help us put this in paper. And Nicole, did you want to talk about how you kind of went about that?
Sure. So I reached out to both CDSS and Northern California Indian Legal Services and asked both of them for a recommendation of someone that could help us negotiate and draft an MOU. And they both recommended Maureen Geary. So I chose her to work with. I reached out to Suzanne and said, is this acceptable to you? And she was happy with it. And so I highly recommend Maureen. You may, if you go to any of the state ICWA conferences, she's usually there as a presenter. And I believe she's in the Sonoma area, but she traveled to Sacramento to meet with us. And I highly recommend her if you have an issue you want to work through with a tribe. She's, I believe, highly respected by tribal leaders also. But she was recommended by CDSS too. And so we hired Maureen and she made it real clear, I'm not representing either one of you. She just helped us get through some of the sticky spots, such as sovereign immunity for the tribe. And I will tell you that CDSS leadership told me, you'll never get the tribe to waive their sovereign immunity. And we did, because what Alpine County traded is something we never trade, which is that any issues that might require arbitration or mediation or court intervention related to our MOU would be heard in tribal court rather than in Alpine County Superior Court. So we both gave up some of our things, we gave up issues that we don't normally concede on to make this MOU happen.
So the MOU is really broad, and I think you're gonna get the PowerPoint, and it's gonna give you some ideas of what's in the MOU, but we kept it really broad. It's basically, we're going to work together to support the families in the county, but specific protocols on specific issues will be dealt with later. And that's how so under this MOU, there's been, like I said, the work on the commercial sexual exploitation of children. And now we're gonna be doing some training on being trauma informed, but specifically through the lens of, so we're bringing in someone that has worked in the area for a really long time. He's Native, and he's going to be training the county on how to be trauma informed when you're working with Native families. Next slide, please.
We may need you to share some of those names with they may be of interest to folks.
Okay, yeah, they can contact me at TLPI because he's one of my colleagues at TLPI. So this is just the wherefores for the MOU. I think we're running short on time, but I think the bottom bullet, it affirmed the tribe and Alpine County's commitment to the mutually supportive working relationship and to provide supportive services for families.
I would say how this works in practice is the Washoe tribe has one social worker to serve 5 communities, ranging from Reno all the way to Alpine County, which is a huge service area. And so she's part of our team, and we case manage and consult with her on every single case. They're a party to our court hearings, and we actually ask families which court they'd like their case heard in, if there's an option. Mm-hmm. Already had an established child welfare or guardianship case of some kind in the tribal court. We take the case to the tribal court, and our social worker and attorneys are allowed to practice in tribal court. And if the family wants the case heard in the superior court, we hear it there, with the tribe as a complete party to it. And we know that at any time the Washoe tribe could petition our court to have the case taken to their court, but that is yet to happen because we consult with each other on everything that we do.
Next slide, please. More about the MOU, so you'll be getting that. Yeah, I think you can move forward. Yeah, so these are the strategies that Alpine County used. And I say this as someone who worked for the tribe and now works for a Native nonprofit. They really learned the history. And it was important to learn that history, to learn the context, right? To learn why the trust issues might be where they're at. They learned about the community. And it was actually one of the reasons the MOU was super easy to get signed is, even though that memo had come out, Alpine County was already providing a lot of the services, and they had gained the trust of the community, both on a case-by-case level, but also at a leadership level. Because like Nicole said, one of the County Board of Supervisors is always from the Washoe tribe. It's always someone from the Washoe community. They admitted to their mistakes. When Nicole called me and said, no, it's not a court case. It's an MOU. It doesn't have any, precedential value. Let's get to work. That was huge. That was really huge for me. And they continue, it's a relationship. I think Amador County talked about that a little bit. It's something you got to keep working on. And so they just keep on proving themselves on a day-to-day basis, and also the collaboration amongst the elected officials, which I think Nicole can speak more to about on the Board of Supervisors, I think is pretty solid.
Yeah, yes, one of our, the way our district boundaries are drawn, we should always have a representative of the Washoe tribe on our Board of Supervisors. And we have a strong partnership with the Washoe tribe, not just through social services, but also, as I said, at the very high government to government level. Some of the other projects we've worked on with the tribe to build a relationship, the county owns 80 acres that had a historical Washoe tribe cemetery on it that was given to us in a land swap with the state. And last year, I feel like maybe it was 2020, even, we gave the 5 acres that the cemetery is on to the tribe, so that it now belongs to them. I'm working on another project, hopefully with our Board of Supervisor. We're gonna reach out to the BLM and see if they will sell the county or the tribe perhaps some land that burned several years ago that is adjacent to the tribal community, to see if we can purchase it for $1 or so and put a park on it. And most recently, the Tamarack fire was a huge loss to the historical and cultural area of the Washoe tribe. And it was something that I and our Board of Supervisors, all of our Board of Supervisors, brought up time and time again with the state and federal agencies, and insisted that somebody from the Office of Tribal Affairs at Cal OES come meet with us, which they did. But it was even during that time, being partners to make sure that we can assist the Washoe tribe as much as we can for their voices to be heard on issues that are important to them during times like natural disasters. So yeah, I think our time's up. Yeah. But yeah, I just want to emphasize that, again, this is our most important government to government relationship, and that's how we treat it. And we also let the state agencies that were here during the fire know that our commitment was to the tribe during this time. So
thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I'm sorry that, Tom, we just want to make sure we have a little time at the end for Q&A. And our facilitated discussion. Thank you guys so much. And I will be following up some of the names. And if we can have a copy of the MOU, that would be great, which we'll share with all of our attendees as well as registrants. So last, but certainly not least, we're going to hear from Calaveras/Tuolumne County. Corey, Margie, and Hua will share their information. So we'll get you guys pinned. And yes, you have, please take take at least 20 minutes to do your presentation.
Thank you so much. Everything that has been shared so far has been outstanding. And I think that between Margie and Hua and I will be able to sort of bring the concept right back around to how we've taken these community connections with our tribes and creating a shared grant. So what I'm going to do first is just talk with you briefly about how to get it wrong. So it's so easy to fall into getting things wrong. I'm really good at that. So let me just walk you through this. I've worked in child welfare services for 25 years before my current role here in Calaveras County. Very little needs to be said about the amount of power that we wear and that we lead with. And by not acknowledging that, we truly can destroy relationships that otherwise could be very natural and very seamless. So what I learned in my relationship with the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians was that what I assumed would be a very seamless transaction, a memorandum of understanding, you know, we just heard about that from our last presenter, MOUs. I had the brazenness to assume that if there was this shared partnership, you get something out of it, the county gets something out of it, why wouldn't we just simply sign on the dotted line? Well, let me tell you what, that was not a successful partnership. In fact, what I had single-handedly done in my interaction with Mr. Frank Canizales, who's a tribal elder with the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians, also happens to be the director of their social services. He had worked in legislation around tribal affairs at the federal and the state level, and as a social worker. So in my brazenness, I show up to his space and I say, just sign. And I'll tell you what I learned that day. I was representing the exact historical trauma that Indian families and their elders and their communities had experienced for hundreds of years. And there I was thinking that, well, I have something to offer. And I didn't. And he had the graciousness and the kind heart and invited me to have lunch with him in his community, where he gently yet firmly informed me about the real meaning of historical trauma. I hadn't truly understood what historical trauma felt like until I heard the story of him after school riding on his bike, 11 years old, he's with his friends, and they go to get a candy bar at the local store in his community. And that happens to be in Sonora, California, Tuolumne County. And there was a sign. He had to wait outside, and the shopkeeper pointed to the sign that said, no Indians or dogs allowed. Can you please advance the slide? Thank you so much. An MOU is not just an understanding. It's a document that has proven over time the ability for counties, for states, for governments to destroy entire groups, families, children. And here we were in child welfare. So what we did with this information is Frank and I had a real frank conversation around how important it is to believe that stripping people of their sense of actually being human has very long-term effects. And that has never left me. And Frank and I now, and just so you know, I asked his permission to share his story. I would be in no right to share the story without his permission. We did invite him to join us today, but Margie Wiley is representing the tribe on his behalf. So just know that assumptions about other cultures and other people can and really does furthers that trauma, and it is still lived today. Please advance the slide. So what we did in my experience there when I worked in Tuolumne County was our child welfare team took tours. We were invited to walk around with our tribal partners and friends, and we learned about what it meant to live at the rancheria, to live on those grounds, to experience the services that their entire social services department had to offer. And we became humbler that day around how we can partner. So what I want to do is just leave you with a few assumptions. Please advance the slide. And I'm going to leave this road to resilience experience for Hua to share as well as Margie. But basically the idea that as a county entity coming in and saying, hey, you're our partners is ineffective. Asking people, meeting them where they're at and saying, do you have any interest in partnering? And we were very fortunate when we came into the Road to Resilience grant that was offered by the Office of Child Abuse Prevention to participate in that. And the brainstorm that we put together was open-ended. We came to the conversation, the tribal partners of Frank at the helm invited us to their office space, and we did a big logic model in real time with anyone and everyone that wanted to participate from the community. We even opened up who wants to lead, who wants to be the lead receiving the monies to then disseminate to the partners. And we did that completely transparently and open-ended to say, anyone that wants to be the lead on this is. So it's just, it really requires putting down that badge and realizing that for your communities to build resilience and to build strength, you really have to come into it open-hearted. So with that, please advance the slide. Here is a picture of us in the county boardroom right after our board accepted over $1 million in our very small, or their very small community for a 3-year grant. Frank is there on the right, and we had board members, and there was our team at the time, Margie in the center of the Road to Resilience team. One more slide before I pass to Hua. Oh, I see that slide is missing. Hold on. What I really wanted to share was just a couple of lessons learned. One is never assume what you believe you have to offer is what others want. Ask. Secondly, learn. Ask questions. Seek to understand the historical traumas that individuals live with in your Indian community. It is personal. Meet people in their space, on their time, if it's what they want. And be aware of traditions. Allow yourself to learn from them. And with that, Hua.
Thank you, Corey. So I'm just going to speak on the Road to Resilience program briefly. Corey mentioned it. It was definitely a collaboration and partnership between Tuolumne County Department of Social Services and with the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians. And so, like Corey said, it is our grant program, and we launched in July 2019, and we received a 2-year extension actually last year. So in 2024 is when the program will end. And so the mission of the program is really to help families build resilience and preserve families and maintaining a safe place for children to grow. It's omitted here, I forgot to include in the slide here, but there is a Native specific component into it. The services that we offer are really also geared towards the Native population here in Tuolumne County, because we do have two federally recognized groups here, along with some unrecognized groups. So it is a home visiting program that's definitely tailored to individuals' needs, and it is a voluntary program. So I think that's a really key thing to note. And then we request the participants to participate in minimum 6 months, but they can opt out at any time. And so the Road to Resilience grant serves women who either have a history of substance abuse, current substance use, or risk of substance use, and have a child under the age of 12 months, or they're currently pregnant and have those existing factors. We can move forward to the next slide. So part of the Road to Resilience program, teaming collaboration is it's crucial. No agency, even though we are the lead agency here, we are not greater than our partners. I mentioned Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indian Tribal Social Services Department is one of our primary agencies that we work with in the Road to Resilience grant. We also have a nonprofit organization, Infant Child Enrichment Services, Raising Healthy Families. So there's the grant, Road to Resilience grant, is actually led by 3 agencies. So there's equal and shared decision-making process in assigning participants to our navigators. So Margie is one of our navigators. And then one way that we do to really help with breaking down some of that historical trauma with our Native population is that I think just working with a government entity itself can be very scary because of that historical trauma impact. So when we ever get any participants who self-identify as Native, regardless if there's any status assigned to that, if they self-identify that way, they automatically are assigned to work with Margie. They do not have to cross lines with myself, with Department of Social Services at all at any point, unless like there's some extra needs or support that's needed, but we don't ever work directly with them to help reduce some of that, those historical traumas and impacts there. And then we also meet twice monthly to discuss case consultations, service plan delivery, and for our family progress updates with each of the navigators from those 3 entities. Move on to the next slide. So this is our current team. I'm not going to go into details with it, but we are navigators in each agency that work with our families. We can go to the next slide. And so just to give a quick information on the data and trends for the Road to Resilience program, as of February 8th, there has been a total of 87 referrals have been received. And we have served at least 58 different individuals with 14 cases of 6-month participation. And then 9 individuals that participate in the program for more than 6 months. They can participate at really any time frame, but the program criteria ends when a child turns 1 year old. So if we catch a mother early on in our early pregnancy, they can actually work with us for 18 months. But what I quickly noticed and what we quickly noticed is that the long-term participant engagement and completion of the program notably occurred with participants working with Margie. We had much more success with our Native participants in the program, like really early on. And I think that shows on to show that it's really important to provide services and to offer help that the community, that our Native population would understand and agree to. And we would never, and we also didn't pressure them to completing program evaluations, because that was one thing that OCAP had required early on. And so I think that was a discussion that we talked in thoroughly about them not being required to do that, because that makes me feel like a research subject, which we did in the past. The government has done that. So we were always mindful of that. And then I think, like with everyone else, the pandemic has impacted our referrals to the program. But overall, like there has been an increase in longer term participation in the program. I'm gonna move on to Margie because she had a lot of stories and success to share. And I think everyone would appreciate hearing what Margie has to share.
Hi, I'm Margie, and I just want to say that I'm really honored to be able to share with you today, and also honored to be able to work with the Native American people within, my community. And what's been mentioned is history is important. And before preparing for the presentation, I had a video that I wanted to share, but I'll put that in the chat. And it kind of goes into the history of the California boarding schools and how the Native American children were taken from the families. And I thought it would be appropriate, since I do have Native heritage myself on my father's side, that I would share just a brief little history with my family. And my grandfather, he went to a boarding school. And I was told by my father as a little girl that he was ridiculed on both sides, not only for on the white side, but also the Native side, because he was only half Native. As a child, I remember asking my father, can we know more about Grandpa's history? And my dad would say, we just don't talk about it. It's something we don't mention. And so the story was silent for many years. The ugly side would come out. Alcoholism was in my family. My grandfather was an alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic, and I became, a substance abuse addict. And I did get into recovery before working for the Native Americans, the tribe here. But when I did start working for them and learning about the history, there was a piece of the puzzle that was added in. I now understood why, there was that ugly side that would come out. It was because of the trauma. It was because of the historical, damage and things that happened in my own family DNA. In Native Americans today, we have higher rates of alcoholism, drug addiction, domestic violence, and suicide and sex trafficking. And in 2018, I'll just briefly share that the Native Americans went on a Wellbriety journey of forgiveness, a 7,000-mile walk to the boarding schools. And they Native Americans began to tell their story. And they said, now is the time to tell the story. Now is the time to heal. So when we came to the Road to Resilience program and we came together and we developed this program, it was so exciting because it was a collaboration of so many different services, and it was like a dream come true. We were going to have funds to help Native, and not only Native people, but other people in our community, and there's such a need. Since having the program operating, we've had 9 referrals for Native American pregnant women and their children under the age of 1. We've had 3 successful completions, and all of those participants not only completed the 6 months, but the 1 year. And I do have one current person that's Native that I'm working with. I did ask for permission to share the success stories from our participants that completed the 1 year. The first success story that I would like to share would be a young single mom. She was a first-time mom, Native American. She came to the Road to Resilience just for prevention and to stay on the right path. And she said, the Road to Resilience program helped me become who I am and become a woman. The program was my only reminder to get and stay clean. And looking back, I appreciated it. It helped me understand how to deal with recovery and bad choices in a healthy way. I am the mom I am today because of you and the program. And we were also able to work, I was also able to work with a Native American couple. They are involved in the Native culture activities, and they had some past involvement with CPS. So this was a prevention for them also. And the mom shared that the Road to Resilience program has helped me to stay accountable. It helped me to learn to stay on course, and we felt comfortable working with Margie. We were able to talk about our issues, and so that they feel like they learned and they taught a lot. I was able to help not only them, but also, the mom, but the dad. And our third success story is a single Native American mom who had a history prior to being pregnant. She came to us. She wasn't raising some of her children, but she said that the Road to Resilience program, along with doing the DOJ program, that it really helped change her life. I'm kind of feeling pressure because I know I only got a couple of minutes. Sorry about that. So this is what she said. Road to Resilience has impacted me in a way that has changed my life on the way I think about my drug addiction in the past. It gives me hope that I have changed my life around for the good and never want to go back to that kind of life, and that I am happy with my feelings. So just so many success stories. I mean, just to hear these success stories is so awesome. And I know we're going to have more success stories. So and it's just an honor to be able to help them come out of that trauma that they might not see there, that piece of the puzzle that might be missing, that they need to work on these things. And just to be a part of the Road to Resilience is an honor. And I'm just grateful to be able to, have this passion for helping our people. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Really. And thank you, Suzanne, in the chat, for sharing also that her mother was removed from her family and that she was sent to a residential school on the trauma. So thank you so much. And, again, I wish we had more time, but now I think what we're going to do now is pin all our panelists, if that's okay, Bryn. Bryn will pin, and Donald and Donald Rodriguez and Layla De Rouen will facilitate some discussion. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand and we can unmute you, or you can chat your questions or thoughts in the chat, and we'll take a look there and see what we have. And thank you for all the work you're doing and for sharing so many just so many wonderful tips about how we can engage our families and our communities. So I'm going to turn it over to Donald and to Layla.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Donald Rodriguez. I'm the Southern California ICWA Field Liaison for the Office of Tribal Affairs, which is a subsidiary of the California Department of Social Services. Thank you for the invitation to be here. It's great to hear what's going on. in the rural counties. Layla and I, we work with, well, she's in the central area mainly, and I'm down south. So we're working with counties all over the place. And as we know, each county is doing something slightly different. And we're trying to figure out why that is, and why a lot of times we're still not getting that tribal engagement. Why are we not following ICWA after over 40 years? Why is there a misunderstanding of tribal sovereignty and a realization that this is a nation within this nation of United States, and that we should be working with them at a level far beyond just business, right? This is a government. This is like working with another, like France. It's to that level. So I want to highlight what Stephanie Hess and Nicole Williamson and Corey Allen in that admitting to mistakes, because that's really going to build that trust and that relationship. And that's something here at the state that we're really needing to work on as well. I know our governor, he issued that apology, and there's work being done for that healing to happen. But that admission of mistakes and realizing where you're wrong. And Corey, I love that what you said about, hey, I wrote this out, I did all my work, and here it is. Now, what's wrong with it? But there's, yeah, just go ahead and sign it. But there's not that partnership. Tribes want to, these are their children. This is their most precious resource. So that partnership is what's really going to make that impact. So I'm not gonna, I know we're running out of time, and I'm not gonna like pull any zingers on you guys, but this, I kind of want us to get a little uncomfortable, because that's how we're gonna grow, right? So we're trying to, like, tribal engagement. How are we gonna engage further with our tribes? So in Amador County, I know we have Joni Drake, and great to see you again, Joni. What work is being done to engage the sovereign nations that are within Amador County, and also the non-federally recognized tribes? Because we know we have the spirit of the law and the Senate Bill 678 that we got to start working with our non-federally recognized tribes. But I know that Stephanie, your mental health services, what can be done to engage with the child welfare services? And is there any, do you know of any work that's being done on that end? Because we're still seeing that our kids are still being removed unnecessarily. So I know I'm kind of throwing a lot at you out there, Steph, and I'm gonna put you on the spot. But if there's anything you could speak to some of those points.
Well, Donald, I'll address a couple of questions that you threw out there about the engagement of the federal tribes. We have private conversations with them because we do have that relationship. They may not be a partner with my entity, California Tribal TANF, but they are our governmental leaders in our region. And so we do have open dialogue and conversation and friendship with each of those tribes. And so we're very honored in that way. So we keep them abreast of what's going on. They were invited to this presentation as well, because we wanted them to know what was going on in our community and what myself as an agency, what I'm doing. And then, sorry, I forgot the other question that you had, but I know that as far as a dialogue, we have, we reach out to the partners over across the way from Stephanie in Child Services, CPS, and also the eligibility workers, because they are our partners as well, serving our families. And so we have that dialogue with their leaders as well. So we keep that conversation open, and that's why I share that ICWA video annually, so that this way it reminds them, because they do have a turnover in their eligibility workers, and we want them to be able to know ICWA is alive and well. I hope that helped.
I don't know if you wanted me to add anything, but I will add that at our roundtable meetings, we did have attendees come from both 2 of the 3 federally recognized tribes. And we actually, before COVID, did an event at the Jackson Rancheria working with the Ione band and the Jackson band. And that was a really great, and Joni was instrumental in inviting them to the table and allowing us space to, conversate with them and actually build a relationship. We work really closely with Aditra over in our CPS. And she has been, Joni and I just talked about this a few weeks ago, how we need to maybe have another conversation again with them about what is going on, because there has been a lot of turnover. But we really do want that engagement with the actual tribes. And then with the unrecognized tribal members, that's kind of difficult. That's hard. You have people that come in and they say they're part of this tribe or they're native and whatnot, and then you try to serve them appropriately. But it's not as structured as it is with the actual federally recognized tribes, because you don't have like a contact person. So there's some work to be done there for sure.
Yeah, that is a statewide issue. And I know within the state, we're trying to figure out is it an all county letter that needs to go out in order to specifically talk about how to work with the spirit of the law, because we know, as many folks said, like knowing the history, we know systemically the state government, the federal government, and local governments, they're intentionally working to destroy the tribes. They're intentionally writing laws to destroy the tribes. So how are we as folks within these systems, working for these systems, how can we work to repair that and to realize that, well, yeah, there were systems that are in place that weren't very good. So what can we do? No, but thank you definitely for answering that. And it kind of speaks to how are we going to sustain this work? There is amazing work going on in Alpine County with Nicole. We know that she's the ICWA champion, and Suzanne Garcia, we know that she's the advocate. But what happens if they win the lottery and they go retire to the Poconos or something, right? What's going to sustain afterwards? How are other folks when the turnover happens?
For Alpine County, I will say it's our culture now. I mean, it is our culture. If I was hit by a bus, it is our culture that we collaborate in partnership with the tribe. And that's the expectation of our board of supervisors. So I think you have to build it into your culture from the top.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you do that? How do you build that into your culture, like within the county? What needs to happen? Because I know, like, having a tribal member on the board of supervisors, that is amazing. How can other counties replicate that?
I think the board of supervisors, the way our districts are drawn, is critical. And in fact, we had some discussion in redistricting about making sure that district was protected and would be able to always have that board of supervisor be elected. But whenever I present when I especially present to mostly tribal entities, they ask me about how do I get my county to engage with me? And, I always, say, pick up the phone and call. And if you don't get a good reception, from the tribe, I will put in a plug for Tribal Law and Policy Institute to be a good entity that can help counties figure out how to engage with tribes, and especially if there's some history that is leading to not being able to work through or be able to have a meeting, having a mediator of some kind. And I also think just showing that you're serious, that this is work that you want to do. I mean, I think that when we hired Maureen Geary and the county paid for her, that we showed the Washoe tribe we're serious. We will pay for this MOU to be drawn up with someone that you trust and respect. So
that is imperative, because even within the state, as we're trying to fix these past errors, the state is relying so much on tribal knowledge, because the tribes who have been here since time immemorial already know this. They already know how to take care of their children, and they've been doing so for millennia. But now the state they're asking them, how are we going to fix our system? The system that's broken and that was in charge to destroy these nations. So how are we respecting those tribal nations by helping when they're helping these systems to improve? a lot of it is to develop these MOUs and to pay tribes for their time, because they are offering us the service to improve our system. So that's a lot of work. So this MOU process that you have here, I hope we can get that PowerPoint, because I would love to share it throughout the state of this great work that's being done. And Layla, I don't know if you want to jump in here if you have any other further questions.
Hi, Nicole. Just wondering how you guys also incorporate maybe reviewing or updating your MOU as necessary. If you could also kind of talk about how that might look, and maybe also some advice on what to anticipate, how to maybe be flexible if you have to make changes in your process that you're working with the tribes with.
That's an important point that I had in my mind to mention, and then I forgot. It's a perpetual MOU, and we purposefully wrote it that way because we didn't want a new social services director or new board of supervisors or new tribal councils members to come in and not fully understand the work that we did and just say, we're not going to do this anymore. So the MOU has to be terminated by one of the parties. So that's one of the way we addressed it. And the other way we've addressed it is we have made our MOU so broad that we can also have other protocols, like our CSEC protocol, that are sort of like, for lack of a better word, an addendum to the MOU, but don't bring the MOU into discussion. So we have not made any changes. And I think that it is written so broadly that it won't require any changes. And we did that on purpose. Suzanne, what are your thoughts? I mean, that was our thinking, was we don't want people to be looking at this every year and second guessing it.
Yeah, sorry, my phone started ringing right when you asked me that.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what we did it. We wrote it really broad on purpose. It's just the county and the tribe's commitment to work together to better serve the family. And it talks about the importance of upholding ICWA and the tribe's self-determination and the government to government relationship. It's all those wherefores that kind of set the context for the relationship that are just kept in place the whole time. And so when individual issues come up, like the prevention planning, it just comes in under the MOU. It's just part of the county's work, right? This is what the county does. Every time they have an issue, they work together with the tribe to get it resolved.
Yep. Our AB 2083 MOU is another example of just, an MOU that we need for child welfare protocol, where we engaged the tribe and they were a partner in this, but we didn't revise the overall MOU. To my knowledge, we're the only county and tribe in California that have this MOU. And I think it's possible we might be one of the only counties and tribes in the whole country to have this MOU. There's some state to tribe MOUs, but I haven't been able to find any other county-run child welfare systems in a state where a county has an MOU with a tribe like this. We didn't really have a template to go from. We had to make it up as we went along.
That's amazing work, and it shows, and it's gonna last, and hopefully it can be replicated by other counties, especially with the FFPSA, the Family First Prevention Services Act, coming through, which is having counties now say, you got to build these relationships. You got to work. You got to formalize these relationships. So I think you're gonna get a lot more further phone calls, hopefully from other counties, because I'm gonna be sending them your way. So thank you. And then down in Tuolumne and Calaveras, I know Hua spoke about having 2 meetings a month in regards to let's getting together and talk about cases. How did that start? And how did that bringing folks to the table? How are you finding that is challenging or sometimes beneficial? Like how did you guys first get together?
So my understanding of it, because this grant started before I came in the grant once it already launched for a couple of months, but and Corey can chime in if you know more of the specifics on it. But part of the grant requirements, I think there were charters, and we call them charters, chartered agreements of how we continue to collaborate with it, because it is 3 agencies together for Road Residents program, and one of those was in that collaboration with us to have regular meetings all together. I know originally it was going to be in person, but with the pandemic, we've been meeting virtually. I don't think it has been a challenge. I think some of the challenges might have been that not always every person that could be involved in meeting are present. So when I say not every person, because part of Road Residents, we have the line workers, the face of Road Residents, we have our navigators, there's the supervisor, but there's also supervisors within each entity as well. They may not always be present, but because we are really working and discussing on how we can improve our services and how we can continue to engage with families, I think we have all our team is very, they all want to see this program succeed. They also want to see what's best for our community. And so I don't think it has been a challenge at all for us to come at the table and meet. And Margie, you can.
And who I would love to add to that. So being the writer of that grant, part of the reason was because it was the first time that services were coming from a county entity, but through a navigation system that was stationed in hospital settings and in Native communities. And the grant required that they be stationed in hospital and or medical settings, including behavioral health. And so it was working, ironically, since we're in a learning exchange, to function as a learning exchange. Margie brought to the conversation very early on substance use clinical practices around how to engage and lead individuals through processes that child welfare staff and prevention staff hadn't had. And prevention staff had safety organized practice and other things that they were using. So it was a constant learning exchange so that all of the navigators, no matter where they were housed, were all learning and using language that was consistent.
I'd like to also add that we're a team, even though we're different departments and different agencies, we're a team. And when you're working together with the clinical team and people who are working with individuals with substance abuse and other trauma issues, being able to collaborate together and exchange ideas, that's just key, I think, to being able to provide the best services that you can.
Yeah, the spirit of collaboration, because Layla and I, we're hearing from a county that's pretty close to where you guys are at, but it's just across the other side of Sacramento. I'm not going to name who they are, but they're on the other side or in a little spot where they're intentionally denying the tribe access to the tribal child. They're intentionally having court orders to say the tribe cannot be involved. And when Nicole was talking about having hostile relationships, and this is going to be one of those issues, because now you're preventing a sovereign nation the right to see their own children. It's kind of mind-boggling, right? So I hope with the spirit of collaboration, the spirit of, yeah, we can work together to not only serve these tribal children, but for all children in effect, because like what Nicole was saying, it becomes a practice, it becomes a culture, it becomes, this is the way how we're supposed to be working together and doing business, in the business of protecting children and keeping them safe and families safe. But when you have some other entities doing things differently, it's kind of like, well, hopefully this will spread. And it's really encouraging, because last week when Layla and I were dealing with this other county, it was very discouraging. And we were figuring out, how have we gone so far back? So thank you all for your words and your continued, hopefully wish you continued success in this. And sometimes it's going to be difficult, right? But as long as you keep coming to the table, we're finding that has been very, very helpful to promote the best work that we can do in promoting the gold standard of social work within the Indian Child Welfare Act. So I don't know if we have any further time for questions. I'm getting a little.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes for Q&A. Donna, I know there were some questions that the our participants posted. I don't know if we can just maybe pick 1 or 2 that we can ask the group in general. I know that the main questions were around approved tribal.
Yeah, a lot of them were talking about how to build that trust, how to even reach out to tribes. And there's been a lot of great examples of that today. Others about how to engage with tribal representatives that are from different areas. What else do we got here?
I don't see any hands up. I don't know if there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat in particular. You know, I just wanted to, there were a couple of things that I heard that I thought were incredibly important. And it was that idea of the perpetual MOU, and then somebody else talking about the training and how to deal with turnover. And, you know, as an entity, strategies that we used to do training, and now Caltrin is doing a lot of training, that whole concept of perpetual training, you know, because and meeting regularly and building that trust, I think, you know, you folks, you really illustrate what it takes. And I think I looked, it was 7 years for Alpine to complete the MOU, but you didn't give up. So that just shows that it does take a long time to build trust, and then you know, to continue it is something that you really have to work at it. There's no end. Collaboration is an ongoing process. So I think those are some of the things that I saw, that I heard, that I thought were so important. And I think Margie might have mentioned about, you know, learning that piece of her own personal puzzle of historical trauma and how important that is, that, you know, you all of a sudden come to this realization that, you know, this is in our bones, which I think Joni's talked about, deep in our bones. So thank you for sharing all that. I think it was just excellent.
Another thing to consider too for counties is to take a look at your ICWA data points. Are you even keeping track of ICWA data? Do you know how many tribal children are in your care? Within your CWS CMS data, there's going to be a part where if they have been asked the question, has the family been asked if they are part of a sovereign nation? Yes, no, pending, or unknown. What we're finding throughout the state, there are over 50,000 something odd number of unknown cases. So this is suggesting that counties aren't asking that question. And we know it's a data problem though, because it automatically defaults to not asked or unknown if nobody clicks that little button, which is not a required field. So it's just being on top of your ICWA data and making sure that you know, because tribes are going to want to know where their children are, right? They're going to want to know because they want to intervene and they want the best for their children. So if you as a county can take that ownership and be like, okay, so let's get our data in line, because well, what gets measured gets managed, and that whole part, and then even that sharing of data. In Southern California, we have several counties that are creating an ICWA data dashboard, and they're sharing it with each other. And they're trying to, well, hey, how did you guys work that out? Oh, well, we did it like this. So just even this cohort here of Amador, Alpine, Tuolumne, Calaveras, can you guys get together, and how can you work to improve that practice? Because I'm finding down south with Riverside, San Diego, San Bernardino, and Orange County, it's they're holding themselves accountable to realize that they haven't been the best in tracking that data, and they're trying to get better. So just little tidbits. And
Donna,
feel free to reach out.
This
Yeah.
is Corey. I love that you've mentioned that, and I can speak from experience in that in Tuolumne County, they have a social worker who is the ICWA expert, and she will work with whatever tribe comes through Tuolumne County's child welfare system to ensure that they get connection, because in Calaveras County, we don't have a formalized casino-led or funded tribe. Both of the tribes that I have reached out and connected with have acknowledged that they lack federal recognition. And I put that in the chat to point out that there's sometimes shame that comes with that. There's a fear on how do I behave? How do I engage? Do I have any authority at all if child welfare comes knocking on my door? How do I let behavioral health come out into our arena and offer something? So utilizing the supports of those tribes that have their own social services departments or their own judicial systems really can help. And I will tell you that the individual in Tuolumne County offers up that service on a regular basis to those of us that need it.
Thank you. And Lucy's letting us know that our time is up. But yeah, feel free to continue to reach out if you have our contact, when you have our contact information. And yeah, let's stay connected, because this is, we all got to be in this together and work together to promote this practice. So thank you all very much for sharing.
Thank you, Donald and Layla, for your facilitation. We really appreciate your expertise. Last but not least is the evaluation. So maybe Bryn, if you have a minute or a second, you've been pinning and doing so much to support us. If you could put the link, there it is. She's good. So there's our survey. Please feel free to, there's plenty of opportunity to comment about what you want from your future learning exchanges. We will make sure to send all the material, follow-up, MOUs, all the things we've mentioned, videos in the email that will come after this event. And feel free to reach out to us at any time. But we do hope to hear from you about what you, and I will make sure that you receive the outcome of the Mentimeter in terms of where we want to go from here, the top selected topics. And Lucy, anything you want to add?
No, just that. Thank you so much to all our presenters. We really, really, truly appreciate it. And your stories just help give us some insight on how we can do the work, especially in rural counties. So we hope that you can be a resource to other partners who are listening to this discussion today. And also to the Office of Tribal Affairs, thank you so much, especially because your expertise and your training and technical assistance is so needed in our communities. And I have received some private messages about wanting to connect with you. So we, once again, I put it in the chat, but also everyone should have a copy of the PowerPoint. If you do not, please let us know. And you'll have Jessica, Layla, and Donald's information so that you can contact them for your region. With that, I just want to say thank you. And it takes a lot of courage for the work we do, but we can do this together. So thank you so much for really enlightening us today with the stories, especially Margie. Thank you for the success stories that you shared. Those so needed.
Thank you. Beautiful. Really, really enjoyed it. And thank you, Bryn, for being our support person. Yay.
Thank you all. I'm so glad to have been a part of this today.